and let me know when you're good.
Yeah, good.
Okay. All right. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you making the time, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. So we are on opposite sides of the world. I'm located in Washington State in the upper left corner of the United States of America. It is noon my time. And where are you and what time is it?
So I'm in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and it is 8:05 in the evening.
Okay. All right. Man, I've been to a fair number of places in the world. I have never been to Ireland.
Representing.
Um, it's on my list. What's the weather like these days in Ireland?
I think our summer usually lasts about 3 days, and we've had it, so it's back to the usual. Sideways were wind and rain.
Okay, okay. Well, that season is about to happen. The state that I live in here in Washington, in the general Seattle area, it's known as being kind of gray and rainy a lot, and it
Yeah,
earns that reputation. We have a beautiful summer. It lasts a few months because the other 8 or 9 months out of the year, it's pouring down rain. So everything's very green during the summer, beautiful. And then we pay for it for about 8 or 9 months. So we're
you
getting
get
into
punished.
that season. We're getting into that season right now where the sunshine's going to leave and the gray clouds are coming.
Oh, great.
But it's all good. Well, you reached out when I kind of made a petition for people, and I should say this right now, if anybody's, actively in Linchpin and you identify as a program hopper and you would
Yeah,
like to share your story, shoot me an email at info@crossfitlinchpin.com and we'll get you on the list. I think you're the third or fourth one that I've done. I've only posted, I think, one so far, but I've got three or four in the bag. So when I first made that little post, what made you be like, ah, yep, he's talking to me. I'm a program hopper.
it just when I read it, it just hit me in the chest. It was like that 100% is me. Like even before I started following Linchpin, I was back and forth with programs a lot. Like so, I'd
And
jump on the one, probably be on it for a while, jump off that onto the next one, maybe even come back, revisit that one, and just it was all over the place.
how long would you stay with any one particular one before you would get distracted and go somewhere else?
I think the most I did was about 3 months.
Okay. Okay. And I guess two questions. One question is, what made a particular thing? And as I was to tell people, I'm not looking to hear any program names, not looking to throw anyone under the bus. Like, so you don't need to name any program names. So I'm just curious, like, what would it be about a certain program that appeared interesting to grab your attention and then go give it a try? And was it just that something else looked shiny and new, or was it that whatever you were currently doing, for whatever reason, lost your interest?
So it was more obviously with my job, it's anything that's detailed as like the tactical athlete sort of
Okay,
program.
so what do you do? So let people know what do you do.
Serving in the army.
Okay, well, thank you, by the way.
Um, so anything to sort of be like a tactical program, I'd be like, right, that's for me. Then that's what I should be doing. That's what I need to be following.
Mm-hmm.
Would follow that, but I'd always found that whatever program it was I was doing at the time, there was always something that was I'm not doing enough of this or I'm not getting enough of that.
Mm.
And then I would try to maybe add some stuff in, and then be like, right, well, now I'm doing too much, so now I need
Okay.
to.
So, were you ever doing multiple programs at once?
Yeah, so like if I was for the one I was saying that I was followed for like consistently for like 3 months, I was um working in Bahrain,
Okay,
deployed in Bahrain at the time, and so I was doing that program, but I was still adding my own stuff into that. So
gotcha.
I was throwing in like the strength stuff in the morning, and then
Okay,
doing the conditioning, my own strength stuff in the morning, and then the conditioning stuff in the evening. But obviously, after 3 months of doing that, I was pretty fried.
that was going to
Like,
be my question because there are certainly under the umbrella of tactical athlete, tactical programming, tactical conditioning, tactical whatever, whatever with the word tactical, there's a whole bunch of different programs that cater to the tactical individual, if you will, or job occupation. And whenever I've seen them, and I have to admit, like I've never gone behind the paywall, been a part of the community, you know, all that kind of stuff. But whenever I've seen whatever it is that they were doing, you know, having been a former military guy myself, it always seemed heavy on advertising and light on delivering the actual goods. That was always
Yeah,
my take as like a military dude who does a lot of programming. I was like, I think that's marketing right there. But
it,
what
it
but
yeah.
you've been on both sides and you're currently still on active duty. So I'm curious to hear your take.
I think it is very much a thing that you, because you think it's gets catered directly for you, because you hear the tactical, and you go, that's me. I need to, but
Mhm.
it's yeah. I just always find that it was when she like delve into like who's running the program and who's doing this, just because they're military, they may
Right.
not be, you know, well suited to what you're doing or what you're trying to do. You
Sure.
know, let's say like
And oh good.
infantry, so I
Mm.
mean like my body is what's it called, like infantry broke. So like trying to do like heavy
Right.
crazy programs isn't like ideal for me.
And you know, truth be told, you know, depending upon what you're doing in the military, I mean, there could most certainly be some unique aspects that soldiers or whoever are exposed to that regular civilians certainly aren't exposed to, don't need to be exposed to, and that a strength and conditioning program wouldn't prepare you for. You know, I mean, you know, there's a whole lot of in the military, you're probably going to have load on your body, dealing with gear for long distances, particularly rucksacks and things like that, under uneven terrain, potentially at night, down man drills, like, you know, what it happens to be like, that's not normal civilian sort of a thing. So you could very easily you know, describe a situation or the needs of a tactical individual and be like, well, probably what you're doing isn't going to meet these needs. And I can see how that would be very enticing, you
Yeah,
know, because that's not going to be covered. But when you think out, in my mind, I was always like, okay, like fair enough. If you're going to put 30 kilos in a rucksack, um, and then just move it for you know, 4 hours, that's gonna suck. You know, like
yeah,
there's just no way around it. That's gonna suck and it's gonna hit different and all of that sort of stuff. But then also, I wouldn't want a military person to do that on a regular basis anyway, because you're gonna get plenty of that just as being in part of being in the military and being forced to do it. So we're probably gonna want to strengthen your lower body, your upper body, your midline, and all these other ways to hopefully make you more sturdy and more resilient for when you do have to do those other things that you'll hold up better, you know? So like I think there's a lot of interesting things in the tactical world and the strength and conditioning world that always just kind of they just put a little bit of a grin on my face, you know, but you know what was it that maybe you know, very few things are only bad or only good. Like maybe what were some of the things from those programs that actually were quite beneficial and you enjoyed given your occupation and some things that you maybe thought were nonsense or were lacking?
it was the things that I enjoyed about it was like the sort of like your heart and lungs burning. Like where
Hmm.
that kind of, for example, he's saying like, you know, like man down drills or Cadillac drills and stuff like that. Like everything hurts, everything's on
Hmm.
fire. That it's obviously you're not replicating the same thing as if you're doing it like dragging a person who's got full kit, but your heart and
Sure.
lungs are working. So you kind of like resonate with it. You can be like, okay, this is like a semi-familiar feeling. So you
Hmm.
think it is like sort of on the right track of, well, it is kind of helping in a way. But with that sort of, what I thought that was lacking was the strengthening sort of side of things. Whereas like you're not going to be able to replicate doing like a 30 kilo tab or a rock in the gym
Hmm.
without getting on a treadmill and doing it. But if you can put strength and conditioning, well programmed strength and conditioning in there and prevent someone getting injured while doing that, or make it a little bit easier, because it is 50% of it's physical, 50% of it's mental.
Amen to that.
So like obviously if you can then sort of make their body a bit more robust in a way, like stronger, less like less prone to being injured, then their
100%.
head can handle the rest of it.
100%. I don't want to speak for the military over there in Ireland. I'll just speak for my own country. But I mean, it's also shocking how many members of the US military do the tasks required to be in the military, these large loads on their backs, long distances, while fatigued, while sleep deprived, while dehydrated. Oh, then, oh, by the way, like you said, you're gonna have a casualty evacuation, something you're gonna drag this person. Like it's just some miserable thing you're gonna do
Yeah,
for a really long period of time. And there's so many people in the United States military that quite frankly, they're not in good shape.
yeah, yeah,
And they do all these tasks with a body that's not fit, fast, and strong. They just suck it up, take a bunch of Motrin, live in pain, and do it. And it's like,
yeah,
well, even if you had a strength and conditioning program that didn't involve, you know, backpacking and dragging things, if we just started to get you really competent at squatting and deadlifting and your L sit and your plank hold and strict pull, like it made your body just so much more durable. And then you still had to do these tasks, which you're already doing with a deconditioned body, but now
yeah.
that you're doing them with one that's like ready for it. Not and rucking's still gonna suck, but you'd probably have a much better experience. It wouldn't quite suck as much, and I bet you would recover a little faster for the next one.
Exactly. And your body wouldn't be busted up and mangled by the time you get out.
Yes. Yes. Uh, I'm I can't be that guy that now that talks about the military because it's been so many years since I was on active duty that would be like I'd be that obnoxious guy that talks about it. And I think how the average person trains has evolved a significant amount since back in the day when I was in. But I'm sure there's still plenty of people doing the dumb stuff like I did. And I look back at it now and I laugh, thinking, through the lens that I look at things now. I think about the demands of a body, and then I think about how I trained back then. And the way I trained didn't in any way, shape, or form prepare me for the demands of the job. There's tons of long, slow distance, which has its benefit, but that doesn't exactly translate to carrying a ruck a long distance. And then a lot of things that you have to do are like interval thing, like you've got gear in your back, sprint from building to building or sprint from cover to cover, sprint you like it's like work rest, work rest, work rest, like high intensity. I didn't
Yeah,
do high intensity work. I was just obsessed with bicep curls and bench press. That was my world. And it's like, what none of that's going to help me with what I'm doing on a daily basis, but that was what was so important back in the day. So it's it's interesting. The whole tactical world is very interesting.
yeah. It's a, again, I kind of think that like some of them are way over this side, some of them are way over this side, and very few of them are like in the middle where it kind of should be, which is where like the strength and conditioning, as opposed to just big arms, big chest, or you can run for 4 days and not be tired.
Right, right. And we had like the extremes with some of the people that I served with. You had like the big guys that loved to be in the gym and they were strong as an ox. And the second their heart rate got elevated, they were useless
Yeah,
because all that strength went away. They had no conditioning, and then they were basically a liability because they weighed 100 kilos and you had to drag them around. Then you had the other guy that was like could run marathons, but would get crushed by the rucksack and it wasn't strong. Like there was no like middle ground. I think for a long time we struggled with that middle ground. I can kind of do whatever athlete, which is exactly what like a tactical application should be, in my opinion, anyway.
exactly. I agree 100%.
What are most people I guess, you said you oscillate back and forth between these different programs and for some reason you wind up making your way back to Linchpin. Why, and we don't program a ton of rucking. We don't do, down man drills and things like that. So of all these various tactical programs, what brings you back to Linchpin?
This gonna sound like cheesy and corny, but like I trust what you do and how you do it is the main thing. Because I know, again, like with some of the other programs I followed, like when you get into who they are and what they're about, you don't necessarily trust what they're doing or what they're saying. Like you said, it's like they put tactical on it as a marketing thing, but they're not producing the tactical side of it. Whereas with Linchpin, I trust the program, like I trust what you're doing. And I think whenever I follow it for any, like whenever I'm consistent with Linchpin, my body doesn't hurt, but I feel like I'm getting fitter, faster, stronger,
Well, that makes
but
me
I'm
happy.
not
Your
in
body feels
pain.
good. That makes me happy. You know,
Whereas
there's a
like the other
good.
stuff, like you say, when you're rocking or whatever it is you're doing, like I know now myself, where like if I run now, sort of like any long distance, I'll be limping back to but that's just the job does that to you. But
Hmm.
I definitely found following Linchpin, my body just feels better.
Well, maybe well, I'm sure there's far more civilians watching and listening to this when I post it than people who are in the military. So maybe for a bunch of the civilians who don't know, how would you describe the physical demands of being in the infantry to somebody who just has no clue really?
Carrying a lot of weight, um, over say carrying a lot of weight over long distances in miserable conditions, soaking wet through to the skin, freezing cold, hungry, sleep deprived, and yeah, it's not good. Your body isn't supposed to do that sort of stuff.
And then there's again, I can't speak for your country, but then there's almost a culture, at least there used to be when I was in, where of course that's going to beat you up. How could it not? How could it
Yeah,
not beat you up? But you're not supposed to say that it's beating you up. You're just supposed to shut your mouth and suck it up.
yeah. Because if you complain, you're weak, and you can't be weak.
Right. Right.
So like
So,
that, they're like the head. I think that's where like the mental side of it kicks in. Like I've seen people like collapse and pass
mm,
out rather than say something's wrong. Like, you
hmm.
know, which is that's your body's like, let's turn this off and turn it back on again because something isn't working right. You know.
What do you find most of your other buddies in the military are doing to stay in shape? What do they do? What do they follow? Is there, command PT do? Do some do nothing? Like, what's the general vibe?
So we do like we do PT more or less every morning. And then you do something called commanding officers PT on a Friday, which is supposed to be like the big ration session. But I've done like 8 or 9 years now, and I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but like they'll have a progressive, what they say, like they'll have a progressive program,
Okay.
set out like progressive PT program. But then obviously you probably get 2 weeks into that, and then something comes up, right? There's a training exercise going. You guys are going over here. You guys are going there, and then you come back, and it's back that right. There's another. We're starting at this, and we're going to build up. We never get past this that. So a lot
Right.
of guys do like. There's a lot of guys that do like the PT in the morning and then go and do their own sessions.
Gotcha.
And I've found over the past few years, a lot of people are steering towards. There is a lot of people that still go in as like chest day, back day, leg day, or whatever. But I find like more people now are coming to the sort of like CrossFit way of training, like the strength and conditioning. I find it's like over the past few years, I've noticed a lot more people doing that.
There's some funny thing that Greg Glassman used to say, every now and then at a lecture, because whether it's the military, basically any group of people, they just want to feel special. And they want to feel that they're unique and they have unique needs. And whether it's military, firefighters, a special program for soccer players, a special program, like fill in the blank, whatever it is, if you can say like, oh, you're a volleyball player, gotcha. Man, you really have unique demands of your sport. I have a special program designed for you. You're like, yes. Like it speaks to people. And he used to say some joke where whoever would wander into the gym, he'd ask them, figure out what group they were in. Let's say, oh, you're a baseball player, or you're whatever football player. Gotcha. We've got a special exercise for you. It's called the back squat. And they're like, oh, you're in the military? We've got a special exercise for you. It's called the back squat. Like there's just some things that it doesn't matter what you're doing are just like universal. Like they're universally going to increase a human being's capacity.
Yeah.
Like, focusing on those universal things that I don't care what special group you're in, you're going to have to be able to pull off the ground. You're going to have to be strong below parallel. You're going to have to be able to go short, medium, and long. You're going to have to be explosive. You're going to have upper body pulling capacity. Like, if you're covering those universal things, then if you've got some, fairly, if you've got some unique niche little items for whatever subset of the population you're in, you can probably sprinkle those in relatively easily. But if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
covering those major building blocks, then you're screwed. You know what I mean? And if you're just
Yeah. Yeah.
spending your time on the cutesy little niche things and not the building blocks, I don't think that's going to end well.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, what is most the military folks over there, what is their stance on like fuel for your body, nutrition? How's everyone eating?
In the infantry.
Immediately get a good chuckle.
uh, Caffeine, nicotine.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
But
Dip or chew.
yeah, nicotine, caffeine, and anger, I think is.
Yeah. That right there is the potential for a clothing line, nicotine, coffee, and anger. I mean, that right there sums up so many people's experiences. It's instantly relatable.
Yeah, I think I've had, because obviously it's with the British Army. I've worked with doing a few like exercises and stuff with the US Army, and I've been on like with like NATO guys in Bavaria, all kinds of different ones. And it's one thing I've noticed is it's the same thing in a different uniform.
Yes,
You
sir.
all you all, it's
100%.
all the same thing.
Yep, there might even be an adult beverage worked in every now and then.
Every now and again, yeah.
So that's
But like
that's the
nutrition wise, I mean,
cornerstone
like
of the nutrition.
we we have like the cookhouse and stuff that we eat in that gives us like 3 meals a day,
Mm.
and then guys will supplement with shakes or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're.
Is it possible in those facilities, those chow halls, those nutrition facilities, can you make a decent choice in there, or is it quite challenging?
You can't, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, every like camp is kind of different, but I think with us, it's always been a thing that like the food's always been terrible or whatever. But you can't make decent choices. The only thing I would say is trying to get, depending on how hard you're training, like trying to get the right, hit the protein mark and hit like a
Mm.
good calorie mark. You might struggle with that, you know,
Hmm.
which is why then guys will be on shakes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. I mean, yep, you got to, I mean, try to get in some protein for as challenging as you're going to work your body, but then who's kidding who? If you're going to put a heavy weight in your back and move it for a very long period of time, you're going to want some darn calories, like period, end of story.
Yeah,
No, that makes sense, man. It's well, out of curiosity, I guess if you had to give just lessons learned from, I think you said almost a decade in the military, checking out all these different programs, sampling different various ways to train, what's been your lessons learned? If there are other people, police, military, fire, listening to this and they're kind of starting to want to prepare themselves for their occupation, what are your lessons learned?
and say regardless of what they tell you, your body is not like your head might be a robot, but your body isn't. Like look after it, because you only get one, and at some point you're gonna have to leave. So look
Mm,
after it. Um, Stay fit, but find something that is gonna, I'd say find something like Linchpin that is gonna treat your body well while getting you for just like injury prevention as opposed to pain, trying not to be hurting all the time.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
100%. Well, my friend, I appreciate your time, especially late at night over there,
that's fine.
making this happen and sharing your story. And I appreciate you, um, you know, being a part of Linchpin as somebody who was in the military before. Uh, I appreciate what you're currently doing for now, people like me who are civilians. So thanks, brother, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You too, mate.
All right, have a good night, Aaron.
You too. Cheers. Thank you.